Hi everyone, thanks very much for waiting there.
Yeah, sorry to be late.
We're going to start with Anton from Sky Sports.
Hi Roy, good to see you. Premier League is back, obviously, but it's back after an international break that's seen a lot of your players travel all around the world during a pandemic. So I suppose my first question is, how is everyone? Has anybody had to take any extra measures, and how's the team looking ahead of the game?
In relation to the pandemic, we were okay. I think it was irritating that Czech Kwiaty is taken all the way to Mauritania, and then the game is called off a couple of hours before kickoff because the Mauritanian team tests positive. But of course, that's something which is the responsibility of the African Congress, and nothing much we can do about it. But obviously, one is concerned in a period of global pandemics that players are being asked to go to countries like Mauritania and then find out that the game can't be played. When it comes to injuries, Wayne Hennessy, as probably people already know, came off the field injured in the game that he was playing, and as a result we're assessing that injury and hoping it's not going to be too bad, but at the moment we can't update anybody on the extent of the injury because scans are required.
You say you're concerned about what's being asked of the players. Is there any way around this, considering obviously the international football calendar is pretty much set now for the next few months?
No, I mean basically these matches are the responsibility of FIFA, who of course rule over all of the bodies in the various parts of the world, and if they are going to sanction the games, then there's literally nothing we can do about it. But I'm pretty certain I won't be the only football manager in Europe anyway, asking questions if it's absolutely necessary to play friendly matches as far away as Africa, in a situation where the control that we think we have in Europe is far less.
You mentioned the injury to Wayne Hennessy there, and obviously it is deadline day, second deadline day, effectively today. Are you in the market for a goalkeeper? And if so, is that goalkeeper Jack Butland someone you know well?
Yeah, Jack's name has been mentioned. Obviously, we're aware of the problems we would have if it turns out that Wayne's injury is a serious one, which is going to keep him out for a longer period of time. And of course, that will leave us very light on the goalkeeper front. And certainly I know that Jack's name is one name that's been mentioned. He's not been the only name mentioned, but this is a job for our sporting director, Doug Friedman, who's working hard to see what options are available, and he'll then presumably present those options to me sometime early this afternoon if he's been able to find an option.
So are you expecting a keeper in potentially before the deadline then?
I don't think that's what I said. I think I said I think that the sporting director is working hard to see what options are available and canvass, if you like, what is a possibility for us. I've just walked straight off the training field and a meeting, so I haven't had that conversation yet. So I'm afraid I can't tell you where he's up to. So I can't really give you the type of clear yes and no answer that you would like. But you never get them from politicians, so I get them from football managers. And on that subject, I forgot to mention James McCarthy came back injured, of course, from Ireland as well, with a muscle injury. So he's another one who, at the moment, has returned injured, and he certainly will not be available this weekend. Neither will Hennessy.
Well, you mentioned politicians, and I've usually during an international break, it's kind of a quieter time, but I've never known more people to talk about football governance and how football should be run than we have had in the last week or two. What are your thoughts on the potential plans we've seen to try to help lower league clubs, and of course the Project Big Picture?
I don't want to speak at any length about Project Big Picture because that's already been kiboshed by the Premier League. They had a meeting last week, and the plan that was on the table, which you've named Big Picture, was thrown out quite comprehensively by the Premier League. So there's no reason to talk about that at all. The Saving the Beautiful Game project, which was chaired by David Bernstein, a man for whom I have an awful lot of respect, and had an awful lot of other people on the panel that I respect, Gary Neville and Mervyn King, Andy Burnham, people that I've come across and either worked with or know a little bit about. I thought the project that they've put forward is a very interesting one and is absolutely worthy of a lot of debate. But at the same time, I'm not prepared myself to join in that debate at the moment and, start making anything other than the proposals, if you like, they put forward, and to suggest that it's well thought out, it's well researched, plenty of statistics to back up the things that they are saying. And I would hope that the footballing authorities will take that seriously and will look into it. But I'm afraid I'm not prepared to go further than that.
I completely understand. Just one question from me on sort of follow up to that then is the lower league club, the EFL clubs, the clubs in the lower down the pyramid. How concerned are you about the situation they face?
I'm concerned about it, but I'm concerned also about the growing rise in unemployment figures, the amount of shops that I pass in high streets that have had to close down, the amount of businesses that are going to be lost to coronavirus. I'm concerned about all of those things. But of course, being in football, it is a matter of particular concern, what's happening to these clubs. And it probably is quite opposite that at this moment in time, a manifesto has been put forward which will look into the regulation and the governance of the game, because maybe in the crisis situation that so many people find themselves in, it was the right moment to really bring the subject up again and look at it in much closer detail.
Thanks, Roy. I appreciate that. I'll let someone else take over.
Thanks, Anton. We're going to move to Sue from PLP.
Roy, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time today. You were talking about this COVID world in which we live. This is the first time that Palace and Brighton have met in this new normal, if you like. Given the rivalry between the two clubs, I just wonder what your feelings are, how the impact of no fans at the weekend will impact this fixture.
Well, it will impact it in the same way as it impacted the Liverpool and Manchester derbies and any other match of that ilk. I don't have anything particular to say that hasn't already been said 100 times with regard to the fact that we aren't allowed to have fans in the stadia, and what a blow that is for everybody, because we miss them so much. They miss us, but we miss them equally. But at the moment, I have to be realistic, and it's not going to change. And there's certainly no point whinging on about what has happened to us. What has happened, and we're all trying to get our heads around it and deal with it as best we can. But if the question was a simple yes and no one, do you think this game would have been an even more exciting possibility, or an exciting game with fans rather than without them? Then the answer is a resounding yes, it would have been, but it's not going to be. So we're doing our level best to prepare for the game that's going to be played.
The 6 matches that Brighton have lost since football came back, since the resumption, they've conceded at least 3 goals in all 6 of those matches. How much enthusiasm and encouragement does that offer you in an attacking sense facing them?
Yeah, I'm not certain that we study that far back, 6 games going back to the mini tournament. So I'm afraid that's information which I didn't have in my head when I came to this press conference. I actually have a very high opinion about Brighton and the job that Graham Potter has done there. I think they're a very good team. I've seen them lose a couple of games in recent months where they've actually been very, very good and have, fully deserved to win, but have come out on the losing side. So we're preparing for a very, very good Brighton team, and I don't myself identify an incredible defensive weakness. We think that they are good both going forward and defending, but if they're kind enough to have got it into their heads that they need to concede 3 goals every game, we'll take it.
And just the last one from me. Heading into the international break, you'd obviously won your first 2 games back to back and then lost 2 back to back. What's the mood in the squad now? And are you one of those managers who would appreciate a break if you like to halt any build-up of negative momentum, or is it frustrating because you want to get straight back on it?
Well, the first 3 games were very satisfactory to me. Although we lost against Everton, I didn't believe that we deserved to, and I thought that our performance in the game was more than good enough to get us at least 1 point from that game. So going into the Chelsea game, I suppose the mood was almost 100% positive. But we didn't play well against Chelsea, and in particular in the second half, we played badly. So unfortunately, it's the last game which sticks longest, if you like, and hardest in your memory. But we've worked hard in the 2 weeks with the players that we've got here or have been able to work with. We've lost 9, so we didn't have the whole squad, but the ones we had with us worked hard, trained hard, and did their level best to make certain that they weren't dwelling on that result and that they were concentrating on all the things that we want them to do to get back, if you like, to the performance of those first 3 games. And I've got no reason at the moment to believe that won't happen.
Okay, Roy, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Sue. We'll go to Jim Van Wyk of PA.
Hi Roy, good afternoon, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah. Can I just check, have you got any more details on Hennessy's and McCarthy's injury? Any more specific, is it what?
Well, Hennessy is still waiting for the scan and waiting to see a specialist. So I wouldn't even dream of putting a projection, if you like, or making comments on the state of his injury until I have all those facts available. When it comes to James McCarthy, there's no doubt that the scan that he had when he came back, he had a scan in Ireland too, which they didn't believe necessarily showed any damage to the muscle. The scan that we carried out when he came back, because he was still feeling that there was something not right there, did show that there's a grade 1 injury to his hamstring, and as a result he's unavailable this weekend, and normally those injuries take between 2 and 3 weeks, so I'll have to wait and see, but he won't be available at the weekend, and I'll be very surprised if he's training in the early part of next week as well.
Is Wayne's a hamstring as well, do you think?
I think Wayne's a little bit higher. No, Wayne's what they call a rec fem. I don't know. I mean, it was the muscle at the front here that you kick with, very high up on there, and it's an injury there for him, which of course is the same injury, although I think Connor Wickham's is slightly lower down, that Connor Wickham also suffered from in training last Monday.
Is that the final one on the injury situation? Is that just part and parcel that you just have to accept that these things are going to happen? Obviously, with you being an international manager as well, you see it from both sides.
Oh yes, I mean, I'm not going to be, saying anything other than it's unfortunate when these things happen. But I believe it's good for players to play for their national teams. I believe they should want to play for their national team, and they should be grateful every time they're called up and given the chance. But of course, it's extra matches, and in extra matches things can happen. But the injury to Connor Wickham, which was also a fairly serious one, that just happened in a training session. So I'm quite sanguine about the fact that these things happen, and I wouldn't dream of, complaining about the fact that it's happened. I just feel very sorry for Wayne Hennessy if it's going to keep him out for any length of time, because he missed the Euros this summer. He was really anxious to get ready for the Euros next summer, and now of course he's got this setback, and he'll have to sort of get kicking on again as soon as he's given the green light to start playing.
Just a final one from me. Brighton manager Graham Potter, he feels that Eze brings a new dimension to Crystal Palace this season. Is there any danger of us putting too much expectation on a young player too soon? How do you manage that going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting one, because the fact is, if you are a football player and you've got any belief in yourself and any confidence in yourself, I guess you want that type of expectation. You want people to be saying that type of thing about you, and as an opponent, fearing what you can come with. But at the same time, it doesn't make a lot of difference as far as we're concerned. I've got a squad of players here, and it's my job to pick what I think is the best team in that squad. And I'm expecting every time I pick a team that whoever I've chosen goes out there and does what I believe him capable of doing. Eze is fortunate. He's still at the start, if you like, of a career. It's gone very, very well for him in the beginning. And we signed him because we believe it's going to continue to go well for him in the future, because we believe in him as a player.
Right, thank you very much, as always, Roy. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the broadcast section. So broadcasters can now leave, and we'll start the written